Long ago, when the stars were bright like the watchful eyes of the ancestors, and the moon floated like a silver drum in the sky, there lived a young man named Kweku. He was not rich. He was not a warrior. His hut was simple, his clothes plain, yet his name was whispered with respect because people said Kweku carried more wisdom in his heart than the river carried water. His grandmother, old and bent but sharp of mind, often told him as the fire cracked at night and children pressed close to listen, "My child, gold shines only in the day, but wisdom shines even in the darkness, guiding lost feet home." The village of Encom, green with tall palms and red with rich earth, had a chief named Abina. But Chief Abina was old, his eyes dim, his hands weak. The villagers worried and whispered, "Who will lead us when the chief joins the ancestors?" One day the great drum was beaten, its sound rolling like thunder through the hills, calling every farmer, hunter, mother, and child to the square. The air smelled of dust and palm oil, goats bleated as they were pulled aside, and the whole village waited in silence. The old chief leaned on his staff and said in a voice as dry as old wood, "My children, the ancestors have spoken to me in dreams. The next leader must not hunger for gold or power, but must be wise and pure of heart. To prove this, whoever can bring back the golden drum of the spirit shall lead when I am gone." The crowd gasped, for the golden drum lay beyond terrible trials, the river of snakes, the forest of whispering trees, and the mountain of spirits. The young warriors laughed, boasting loudly, "This is for us. We are strong. We carry spears and shields. We will return with the drum." They polished their weapons till they glittered like the sun. The rich traders tied bundles of food and drank palm wine to prepare for the journey. When they saw Kweku with only a walking staff and a gourd of water, they mocked him. "Boy of stories, what will you do? Sing the drum into your hands?" But Kweku only smiled and said, "A spear breaks, but a story lives forever." The next morning the journey began. The boastful warriors rushed ahead, shouting, their sandals thumping, their spears flashing. Kweku walked slowly, the earth warm under his bare feet, his eyes calm. Soon they reached the river of snakes. The water boiled with scales and yellow eyes. Serpents as thick as tree trunks writhed and hissed, the air full of their rattling tongues. The greedy men shouted, "Cut them down!" They plunged their spears into the water, but the more they fought, the more snakes rose. The river turned red, weapons snapped, men were dragged into the depths. Kweku stood at the bank, his heart steady. From the water rose an old turtle, its shell scarred, its eyes deep as the night. The turtle spoke, "Young traveler, the snakes do not fear iron, they fear lies. Only truth will part this river. Sing your truth." Kweku bowed and sang softly, his voice floating over the water. "I come not for riches, not for power. I come for my people, for peace, for tomorrow." The snakes stilled. Their bodies swayed like reeds in the wind, and the waters opened, forming a shining path. Kweku walked across, the river closing silently behind him. The surviving warriors cried for help, but the water swallowed them whole. Kweku walked on until the sun burned his skin and the nights froze his bones. At last he came to the forest of whispering trees. The trunks leaned like crooked men. The leaves murmured, turn back, all who enter are lost." The boastful men who still followed drew their machetes, hacking at the trunks. But the more they cut, the more lost they became, swallowed by shadows, their cries fading. Kweku laid his hand on the bark of a great baobab and listened. The voice of the tree rumbled, "Traveler, tell me, what is the greatest treasure?" Kweku answered, "Wisdom. For with wisdom one can protect gold, cattle, people, and land." The forest sighed, and the trees pulled back to open a glowing path. The baobab bent low and gave him a calabash. "Shake this when you hunger or thirst, and it shall provide." As Kweku walked deeper, the forest told him old tales. One tree whispered of a foolish king who once valued gold above wisdom. He built walls of gold, but gave no ear to wise counsel. Enemies came, and the kingdom fell while the gold melted in fire. Another tree murmured of a mother who chose wisdom over jewels, teaching her children to live kindly, and though she died poor, her name lived in every song sung after her. Kweku carried these stories in his heart, knowing they were gifts for his people. At last he came to the mountain of spirits. The air was heavy, storms raged, lightning split the sky. Shadows danced along the rocks, voices swirled in the wind. Why do you seek the drum? The last of the greedy men shouted, for power, for glory, for wealth. In a flash of lightning they turned to stone, their mouths frozen open in hunger. Kweku bowed low. I seek it not for myself, but to serve my people, to bring peace and wisdom. The spirits began to sing, their voices like deep drums and high flutes together. Greed destroys, wisdom builds. Strength fades, truth remains. The mountain shook, split open, and from within and rolled out the golden drum, shining brighter than the sun. Kweku lifted his hand and struck it once. The sound thundered across rivers, forests, and hills. In the village far away, mothers paused, hunters looked up, children clutched their chests, all felt the drumbeat in their hearts. Kweku carried the drum back to Encom. When the people saw him, they rushed forward, their voices rising in joy. Old Chief Abina raised his weak hand and said, the ancestors have chosen. Kweku is our new leader. The people chanted his name, drums echoed, goats bleated, children danced. As chief, Kweku ruled not with fear but with fairness. He settled disputes with calm words, fed the hungry with the calabash that never emptied, and protected the weak with the strength of his wisdom. His name spread across rivers and deserts, not for battles won or gold gathered, but for the peace he brought. And so even today, when the fire crackles and the moon glows, the elders tell this story. They say greed destroys, wisdom builds, strength fades, truth remains. The drum of the spirits is not in the mountain, but in the heart of those who listen.